DA Fani Willis just got the worst news, guys.
Your office objected to us getting Delta records for...
The thing about Trump that's been interesting is, yes, he was more crude.
Flights that you may have taken with Mr. Wade.
No. I object to you getting records. You've been intrusive into people's personal lives. You're confused. You think I'm on trial. These people are on trial for trying to steal an election in 2020. I'm not on trial, no matter how hard you try to put me on trial.
So my question was, do you have any problem?
I object to getting any personal records of mine.
Georgia Court of Appeals disqualifies Fani Willis from Trump election interference case.
The liberal district attorney Fani Willis, who went after Donald Trump in Georgia, just got kicked off the case. Georgia's Court of Appeals has just disqualified her from prosecuting the 2020 election case against Donald Trump and his co-defendants. They are citing conflict of interest. Well, no kidding.
Do you think that corrupt, arrogant power mongers need to be jailed and removed? So should she be put on trial ASAP after she's removed and disbarred, followed by jail? By the way, guys, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate you guys joining me on this live.
Donald Trump and the other defendants have committed persistent and repeated fraud. Last week, we proved that in our motion for summary judgment.
If he does not have funds to pay off the judgment, then we will seek, judgment enforcement mechanisms in court, and we will ask the judge to seize his assets. We are prepared to make sure that the judgment is paid to New Yorkers. And yes, I look at 40 Wall Street each and every day.
Why not go after the dirty, murderous cops, corrupt judges, district attorneys, and AGs? Should we start with Letitia James?
And this former president...
What's your favorite curse word?
I can't say it. It starts with an M and it ends with
She swallowed the word. You could literally actually see it on her lips, y'all. Did you guys see that? What do you think she really wanted to say? Just close your eyes and imagine how close we were to dodging that bullet. She's clearly a big fan of Samuel L. Jackson.
George Stephanopoulos and ABC apologized to Trump, are forced to pay $15 million to settle defamation lawsuit.
I think George Stephanopoulos owes Nancy Mace an apology as well. What do you think?
Hey, I just want to give some free advice to the white progressives, particularly white progressive women who may be thinking about marching against the Trump victory.
One of the reasons why he got such a negative reaction when he first burst onto the political scene in 15-16 was, yes, he was saying things that the Republican Party considered anathema. Tariffs, that wasn't their thing. Not being, provably pro-life, that was a problem for them.
Maybe putting back on the P-word hats and doing that thing. I would just say probably don't send any of those invites to any black women you know.
But really what was driving Republicans and Americans nuts about Trump in the beginning, many of them, was he was crude. It was jarring. But then he helped expose some of these other politicians and what they've been doing behind the scenes, right? That is awful.
I'm just going to tell you right now, they're not coming. I'm pretty sure black women have resigned from the Save America Coalition, Save Democracy Coalition, and definitely the Save the Democratic Party Coalition. I think that's probably not happening. I would just keep those invites maybe among your own friends because I don't think they're coming.
I'm sorry, but to all the black women in my audience, does Joy Reid speak for you too?
Just look at Joe Biden, how he's misused the Justice Department against his political opponent. I mean, he's also crude on camera too, but not in this particular way. So my point is simply, Trump was just the first one to sort of wear it on his sleeve, but behind the scenes behaved pretty well. Whereas so many of these other politicians knew exactly how to play it in front of the camera, but behind the scenes were complete and total douchebags.
By the way, guys, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate you guys joining me on this live.
Fulton County, Georgia. And here we go. A Georgia Court of Appeals has disqualified the Fulton County DA, Fani Willis, from that election interference case. It's coming down right now. The case against Trump and more than a dozen others already largely stalled, as you know. The new ruling means that it will be up to the Prosecuting Attorney's Council in the state of Georgia to find another prosecutor to decide on the case, to take it over and make a decision as to whether or not they continue with a prosecution of the incoming president.
And former Deputy Assistant Attorney General John Yoo is here. John, does this Does this mean that this is yet another one of the cases against Trump that could go away before he's president?
It's another example, Dana, of this lawfare campaign that was waged by Democrats, boomeranging back on them and falling all around their ears. Anyone who watched this trial, remember, this is the DA who claimed that the entire Trump reelection campaign was something like an organized crime racket that was intending to deprive everyone of our civil rights to vote. But remember, we saw the dramatic testimony over the summer of how DA Fani Willis had hired her boyfriend, essentially, to be the special counsel, overpaid him, and then had him investigate and bring charges against Donald Trump. It's a complete conflict of interest. And if you take a quick look at the Georgia Appeals Court decision here, that's what it says. There's such an appearance of impropriety, an appearance of a conflict of interest, that Fani Willis should not be the prosecutor. I think this spells yet another case that's going to have to either be suspended or more likely just ended and tossed out. It's hard for me to see another Georgia district attorney wanting to take up this flawed case and try to prosecute Trump on these theories that his reelection campaign was some kind of criminal organized crime enterprise.
John, a couple of things here.
Kidding me right now? Fani Willis, the DA who was supposed to be the face of justice, just got booted off the Trump case. Yeah, disqualified, you guys. We're waiting for her to be dismissed. But I mean, you just can't make this up. And what does Donald Trump do? Well, he calls it a disgrace to justice. And honestly, can you blame him? I mean, the system's unraveling right in front of our eyes, guys. And to top it off, people are talking about President Elon Musk and even dragging Luigi Mangione into the chaos. Now, is this justice or is it just a circus? I mean, please, somebody please tell me, because I really can't decide whether to laugh or to scream. What do you guys think? Is this corruption? Is this incompetence? Or is it just pure karma that's finally catching up to the power hungry?
There are 14 others that face charges. I don't know what happens to them, but she can appeal to the state Supreme Court in Georgia. But given what the Supreme Court said in Washington about immunity, I mean, does the state Supreme Court even take her case in Georgia?
It's a good question, Bill. I think what's going to happen here, along the lines of possible appeals and so on, is it looks likely, because of that presidential immunity decision by the Supreme Court, that any kind of state prosecution of President Trump would have to be at least suspended, if not dropped. You're seeing that going on, those arguments going on right now up in New York City with the case being heard by Judge Merchan. So even if they could get past immunity, they'd still have to suspend it while President Trump was in office. But furthermore, you'd have to go back and then scrub the whole indictment, scrub everything the grand jury did, and say you've got to eliminate anything that used official actions by President Trump, any evidence that came in from White House officials, from anything the president was doing in the Oval Office. That might actually fatally handicap this prosecution and require the whole thing to be dismissed.
It's interesting, too, because she had this novel way of trying to get at him through RICO. Was that a mistake as well? In addition to her personal behavior, obviously, is what they're saying here. But in a way, it was this like novel idea of like, how can I be the one to take Trump down? That's for like politically, she wanted that reputation.
Yeah. Dana, you and I remember we're Justice Department alums. Yeah, I remember you when you were there and I was there and we were, there after the days of 9/11. And you can use this kind of statute, RICO, to try to go after real organized crime, drug cartels, mafia organizations. DA Fani Willis introduced, I think, a really dangerous theory, was that we could use these powerful tools that are used for terrorists and drug cartels and apply them to political campaigns, and not just any political campaign, but the campaign by the leading opposition candidate at that time, Donald Trump, the head of one of the two major parties in the country. I think ultimately the whole thing would have been tossed out because it violated the free speech rights of Donald Trump, the free speech rights of the Republican Party, and actually a lot of Americans who supported him. So I think in the end, this whole thing was going to come crashing down around Fani Willis's and the Democratic Party's ears. Anyway.
Well, it seemed complicated from the beginning. There is that case here in New York that's still out there, the 34 counts in Judge Merchan's courtroom. He made a ruling about a week ago that the conviction still stands, but the penalty will be judged at a later date. John, do you think that later date ever happens now?
I think this is Judge Merchan really still trying to go after Donald Trump. Think about it. If you look, Bill, you mentioned the presidential immunity case. There's a footnote, a really important footnote in that opinion that says states, even if they're prosecuting a president for private acts, can't use evidence from the presidency. They can't use what Donald Trump said in the Oval Office. They can't use what White House officials said. Nevertheless, Judge Merchan went ahead and held a trial and introduced that kind of evidence. He should, at the very least, order a new trial, if not force the DA to go back to it. But what Merchan is doing, which I think is still dangerous, is he's dangling these charges still, the sentencing, over the head of Donald Trump and saying, well, I can't sentence you now. Maybe I won't. He still probably, he could try to get in before the inauguration, but he shouldn't. But he's going to say, I'm going to dangle that over your head for the next 4 years, and I'm going to be waiting for you when your presidency is over.
Well, you have to think he's doing the work of Alvin Bragg, right, Dana? At the moment. I mean, he works for the DA, right, John?
I don't know.
I wouldn't say he's doing. I'm sure Bragg loves this idea because Bragg is trying to make his career out of harassing President Trump. And this is a terrible thing for not just Donald Trump, for all Americans because of the presidency. You don't want presidents to have to try to make the toughest decisions on behalf of the country and have to worry what's going to happen to me when I come out of office. Is this, two-bit judge and this DA going to be
able to
waiting
have
for
clear
me?
decision making, indeed.
And stick around because I got some sick clips that I want to share with you guys. Do not miss them. Now, I would like to introduce you to the sponsor of today's video, Vision Marine Technologies. So Vision Marine Technologies on the NASDAQ under ticker symbol VMAR is at the forefront of a transformative moment in the boating industry. While electric cars have been dominating headlines for over a decade, a quieter but equally significant revolution is happening in the waters. Much like how Tesla changed the automotive industry, Vision Marine is on track to revolutionize marine transportation with its innovative electric powertrain technology. As governments push for more sustainable solutions and boaters recognize the long-term benefits of electric power, the electric boat market is projected to skyrocket from $3.3 billion in 2023 to $7.7 billion by 2030. This is a growth rate of 13% per year. By 2030, electric boats could account for 16% of the U.S. boating market. Vision Marine is uniquely positioned to meet this increasing demand with electric motor systems that deliver exceptional performance and efficiency. At the heart of Vision Marine's innovation is its partnership with McLaren Engineering. Together, they have developed the most powerful and reliable electric marine powertrain available today. This partnership leverages McLaren's renowned engineering prowess to help Vision Marine achieve unparalleled advancements in the marine propulsion technology. The company's focus on research and development has been relentless, filing 5 critical patents in 2024 alone, with another 20 patents pending. These patents cover a range of technologies, including advanced battery systems, high-efficiency motors, and proprietary software, all designed to deliver an impressive 180 continuous horsepower. After years of development and rigorous testing, Vision Marine's fully electric e-motion powertrain set a new world electric speed record. In the documentary Can't Stop, Won't Stop, the world watched as champion boat racer Sean Tarante pushed a powerboat equipped with Vision Marine's technology to an astonishing 116 miles per hour. This feat not only demonstrated the raw power of their electric motors, but also underscored their reliability under extreme conditions. Vision Marine's onboard motors are designed for versatility, seamlessly integrating with 17 different setups and over 10 of the largest boat brands worldwide, including the industry's top player. Their motors work across 4 distinct platforms, making them adaptable for a wide range of boating needs. Boaters who switched to Vision Marine's electric motors experienced instant torque for rapid acceleration, unmatched reliability, and fast charging options that reduce downtime. Unlike traditional gas-powered engines that often need significant maintenance after just 100 hours of use, Vision Marine motors can operate for approximately 5,000 hours before requiring an overhaul. So this translates to lower operating costs and fewer maintenance headaches for boat owners. The benefits don't stop there. In fact, Vision Marine's electric motors produce 0 emissions while operating, making them an environmentally friendly choice. This reduces air and water pollution, eliminating the unpleasant fuel smell and oil slicks commonly associated with gas engines. This quiet operation of electric motors also enhances the boating experience, allowing users to enjoy peaceful rides without the roar of an internal combustion engine. For nature enthusiasts and recreational boaters, this shift toward electric power offers a more serene and sustainable way to explore the water. A significant part of Vision Marine's success lies in its strategic partnerships. The collaboration with Linamar Corporation, a $5.6 billion manufacturing giant and parent company of McLaren Group, provides Vision Marine with the resources, capacity, and expertise to scale production rapidly. Linamar's manufacturing capabilities ensure that Vision Marine can produce up to 18,000 e-motion motors annually, allowing them to meet the growing demand for electric boating solutions. This scalability is critical as the electric boat market expands and more consumers seek out greener and more efficient alternatives to gas-powered engines. Marine Vision is already making waves with notable industry milestones. When Four Winds launched their H2E electric bow rider, it featured Vision Marine's powerful 180E system and went on to win Boating Magazine's prestigious Boat of the Year award in the runabout category. This achievement highlights not only the power of Vision Marine's technology, but also its growing influence in the boating world. The company's collaboration with ePropulsion led to the development of the Phantom, a groundbreaking electric boat crafted using advanced plastic rotomolding technology. A fiberglass version, the Volt, is currently in development and promises to deliver the same innovative performance. Additionally, Vision Marine has partnered with Smokercraft Incorporated to develop the first ever state-of-the-art electric pontoon platform, further expanding their market reach. Looking forward, Vision Marine is exploring opportunities to acquire boat platforms to support their next phase of growth. With a recent $3.4 million financing round, the company is well funded to advance its technology, increase production, and expand its market presence. Their focus on North American sourced components, rigorous testing, and efficient supply chain management ensures that they are ready to meet demand as more consumers embrace electric boating. Vision Marine Technologies isn't just developing electric motors, they are pioneering a cleaner, quieter, and more exciting future for boating enthusiasts. As their innovations hit the market, Vision Marine is poised to lead the electric boating revolution, offering powerful, reliable, and eco-friendly solutions that redefine what's possible on the water. The future of boating is electric, and Vision Marine is at the helm of this transformation, bringing optimism, innovation, and sustainability to the industry. In a major legal twist, the Georgia Court of Appeals has removed Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis from the very high-profile election interference case against Donald Trump and others. However, the court did not yet dismiss the charges, which kind of leaves the prosecution in a state of uncertainty. In fact, the decision came after concerns about Fani Willis's conduct, specifically the appearance of impropriety related to her role in the case. So the appeals court in Georgia ruled 2-1 that this was an exceptional situation where Fani Willis's removal was necessary to maintain public confidence in the legal process. Judges Trenton Brown and Todd Markle, they wrote that Fani Willis's actions created a perception of wrongdoing that could not be resolved unless she and her office were taken off the case. So the issue, it began when Trump and other defendants accused Fani Willis of having a romantic relationship with Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade, suggesting a conflict of interest. Now, this controversy, it blew up. It led Trump and his co-defendants to seek her disqualification, claiming that she acted improperly. So Steve Sadow, Trump's lead attorney in Georgia, praised the court's decision, describing it as a well-reasoned and just action. Now, Steve Sadow argued that Fani Willis's behavior had created an odor of mendacity, which basically means dishonesty, and that only her removal could fix this. And he framed the ruling as a victory against what he called a politically motivated attempt to target Donald Trump. Now, Trump celebrated the ruling, telling Fox News that basically the case should not continue and that everybody involved, particularly his supporters, deserved an apology. So this decision marks yet another legal win for Trump, especially as he prepares for a potential return to the presidency. Now, it also follows other favorable outcomes, such as Justice Department Special Counsel Jack Smith dropping 2 federal cases against him and delays in his sentencing for a hush money case in New York after his victory over President Joe Biden in November. However, this ruling, it further kind of complicates the case against Trump. And it doesn't necessarily end it, but it's still a big win.
begin this hour with breaking news just into CNN. The Georgia prosecutor leading the state's election interference case against President-elect Donald Trump is now disqualified. CNN's Caitlin Polantz is here with more. Caitlin, what can you tell us about this? This is just coming in the last several minutes. This is a big development.
A big development, and a big development that Donald Trump has wanted for a long time. That case against him in Georgia, the criminal case where it's accusing him and several others of a racketeering conspiracy related to the 2020 election, it's already been paused. Now it's not even backburnered. This is a case that will be dead in the water because the Georgia Court of Appeals is now saying that Fani Willis, the leader of the prosecution against Donald Trump, the district attorney in Fulton County, Georgia, she should be disqualified from being able to bring that case. The Georgia Court of Appeals is saying that it's a significant appearance of impropriety caused by the conduct of a public prosecutor. That is Willis, how she behaved, how she was speaking about the case, about Trump publicly, about how she was having a relationship with the top prosecutor that was concealed in this, a man named Nathan Wade. All of that previously the trial level judge had looked at and said, Fani Willis can stay on this case. We're not dismissing the indictment, but the Court of Appeals is now taking another look and saying, no, the trial judge was wrong. Fani Willis should be disqualified from continuing to lead this case. It would be a long process, or it will be a long process to replace her, which is why I say this case is dead in the water now without Fani Willis, the person who was leading this case against Donald Trump in Fulton County. And just to keep tabs on how many cases there are against Donald Trump criminally, the other two in federal court, January 6th, and classified documents, those are dismissed. And then the additional case in New York City where he was set to be sentenced, that sentencing is now not happening. So as Donald Trump enters the presidency, each of these courts that is handling a criminal case is essentially removing that issue from him to have to deal with in any period of time in the near future.
All right, Caitlin Polantz, thanks for that added perspective. Let me bring in CNN senior legal analyst Ellie Honig. Ellie, what can you tell us about this case down in Georgia, the Fulton County case alleging election subversion against Donald Trump and a whole cadre of other co-defendants? Caitlin Polantz was saying that potentially this case is just completely dead now. Is that the case? Is it completely dead, or is it possible you could have another prosecutor come in and take it over?
Well, Jim, for all practical purposes, it's over. This case was already in deep trouble because of the conduct of the district attorney, Fani Willis, and now it's all but over. So just to remind people, this is one of the 4 criminal indictments that had been brought against Donald Trump. The allegations that Fani Willis made here and the Fulton County DA's office made here related to Donald Trump's effort to subvert the 2020 election. There are many other defendants beyond Donald Trump in this case. Now, during the pretrial process, Donald Trump and some of his co-defendants alleged that the DA, Fani Willis, had a conflict of interest. She had a relationship, which she later admitted, with Nathan Wade, a person who had been brought in from the outside to be the lead prosecutor on this case. There were a series of televised hearings on this issue last year, during which Fani Willis and Nathan Wade both testified, yes, we had this relationship, but it didn't start until after Nathan Wade became the lead prosecutor.
So the prosecuting attorneys council of Georgia, they're going to need to find another prosecutor to try and take over unless Fani Willis decides to appeal the ruling in the Georgia Supreme Court, and then that court agrees to hear the case. But this case is so jacked up. Fani Willis screwed it up from the very beginning. She probably should have just disqualified herself from the very beginning. There was clearly some bias here, and now I don't think any other attorney is going to want to take this case. There's so much to clean up. It's almost impossible, and at this point, it's just really an embarrassment. So I don't know. If the Supreme Court upholds the decision to, or even declines to get involved, a new prosecutor would have to decide whether to continue the case, or maybe drop some charges, or just abandon the prosecution entirely. So this could be very challenging because the case is so complex and it requires substantial resources for them to even try to argue this thing. But get this, guys. Judge Benjamin Land, the dissenting judge, disagreed with the decision to remove Willis. Now, stick around, guys, because there's some clips I got to share with you guys. And I don't want you guys to miss that. Now, he argued, and for those of you guys just now joining the live, definitely hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate you guys. But he argued that the majority was overstepping its authority, explaining that trial judges typically have broad discretion to decide these matters. Now, Landed actually pointed out that since there's no proven conflict of interest, the appeals court should not interfere. He believed that the ruling went against established legal precedent in Georgia. Now get this, the case dates all the way back to freaking August 2023 when a grand jury in Atlanta decided to indict Trump and 18 others in this Georgia racketeer influenced and corrupt organizations, aka RICO Act. So the indictment accused them of trying to illegally overturn Trump's narrow 2020 election loss in Georgia. But since then, 4 defendants have pleaded guilty after making deals with prosecutors. Meanwhile, Trump and the remaining defendants have pleaded not guilty. So there's that.
And then with regard to the allegation that their finances had been intermingled because Nathan Wade was being paid a lot of money to work on this case, the testimony was essentially that they split the costs on everything and they did it all by cash. Well, the trial judge here found that there were significant questions about the truthfulness of Fani Willis's testimony. The trial judge said, quote, the odor of mendacity remains around this case. He said there's real questions about whether her testimony was untruthful. That's a quote, untruthful from the trial judge. But nonetheless, the trial judge said, well, we can solve this if Nathan Wade leaves the case. And that's what ended up happening. But clearly, the Court of Appeals has now decided that's not sufficient. They lay substantial blame at the feet of the elected district attorney, Fani Willis. And now, as a result, this case, it's not quite dismissed, but it means that Fani Willis and her office will be disqualified from handling it. And as a practical matter, it now goes into a sort of purgatory for an undefined amount of time. It's not coming back. It's over.
Yeah, and Ellie, I guess this begs the question, had Fani Willis stepped aside sooner when all of these questions were being raised, when there was all of that controversy, we all covered this, had she stepped aside sooner, handed this off to somebody else, is it possible that we would not be at this point, that case could still be alive?
There are a lot of things Fani Willis could have done differently, I think, to avoid this ruling. Number one, she could have stepped aside way earlier, as you said. Number two, obviously, I mean, she has acknowledged it was a mistake to have an affair with the lead prosecutor on the case, have a relationship with the lead prosecutor on this case. And separately, and I'm looking to see if this is in the opinion, I believe it is, because I know it's one of the issues that was briefed to the Georgia Court of Appeals. The DA made statements outside of court that the trial judge found were, quote, legally improper. For example, she went in front of a church while this case was pending, and she said essentially the reason these defendants have brought these motions, standard legal motions, is because they're playing the race card. And the defendants, Donald Trump and other defense lawyers, argued that that violated the responsibilities and ethics of a prosecutor. And the trial judge, oddly, said those statements that Fani Willis made out of court were, quote, legally improper. And then he did nothing about it. He said essentially, too bad, there's no remedy. So still going through this Court of Appeals opinion, I'm interested to see if they also opine on that as well.
Yeah, and Ellie, I mean, we should remind our viewers this is the case during which Donald Trump submitted himself to the Fulton County Jail for a mugshot. I mean, that infamous mugshot that is going to be remembered by so many of us for a very, very long time. But for all intents and purposes, he is not going to be. He's not going to have his day in court to defend himself against these charges that were coming out of Fulton County, which, I mean, to refresh our memories, Ellie, these were very serious charges when they first came out.
Yeah, so these charges came out, Jim, in the summer, August of 2023, and it was actually the fourth of the 4 indictments to drop. And what this case charges is that Donald Trump and I believe 18 others, I think there was 19 total defendants, including people like Jeffrey Clark, Rudy Giuliani, Mark Meadows, and others, were part of what's called the racketeering enterprise. It was a state-level, Georgia state-level racketeering charge, which essentially charged that Donald Trump was at the head of this organization that existed in order to try to overturn and steal the 2020 election. The allegations that the DA made largely overlap with the allegations that Jack Smith made in his federal case in Washington, D.C. That's already been dismissed on a different basis. Let's remember, just to try to keep this all straight, the 2 Jack Smith federal cases have both been dismissed voluntarily by Jack Smith, because now that Donald Trump's been reelected, Jack Smith acknowledges he cannot proceed with the prosecution. There was a bit of a separate question about the 2 state cases. They're still arguing over whether the Manhattan hush money case can proceed to sentencing. That's ongoing. And then this is the 4th case. This is the Georgia state level case. And for now, it's not even going to matter what Trump's status is as president-elect. For now, the Court of Appeals has basically taken this whole case off the track. Separately, by the way, they're not going to be able to proceed once Donald Trump gets sworn in on January 20th. So this case was going down the tubes either way, but I guess this expedites it.
Yeah, it's going down the tubes pretty quickly here, Ellie, no question about it. Let me bring in Paula Reed. Paula, you've been following all of these cases as well, and time and again, it seems Donald Trump is escaping his day in court, reaching a final conclusion, a judgment in any of these cases. It's kind of extraordinary.
It's incredible, Jim. I remember 2 years ago and speaking with Trump's lawyers when it wasn't clear if Trump would be facing federal charges. They told me that they were most concerned about what was going on in Georgia because, of course, a state level case is outside the scope of a presidential pardon. They said that was a case at that time that concerned them the most. And as you and Ellie were just talking about, at the beginning of this year, then former President Trump, he was facing 4 criminal cases. And of course, he was tried and convicted in New York in the so-called hush money case. But as of now, it's unclear if he'll ever be sentenced in that case. We're currently waiting for the Judge Juan Merchan, to rule on a motion to dismiss, another effort by the Trump team to try to get that conviction tossed based on the fact that he's president-elect. We know the 2 very serious federal cases that Trump was facing are now going to be or have been dismissed. And then, of course, the only other outstanding question was this case down in Georgia. Now, once the case was filed, a lot of legal experts and my sources on the Trump legal team said this was an unusual way, a RICO case, to pursue this kind of matter, and they were confident that eventually they could beat it in court. But here, it doesn't even look like they'll have to ever do that, because here the DA, Fani Willis, being disqualified. So a truly extraordinary victory for the Trump legal team's crusade over the past 2 years to just delay on behalf of their client in the hopes that he would be reelected. Now, he is a convicted felon. He was convicted of 34 counts in Manhattan earlier this year, but as I said, it's unclear if he'll ever even be sentenced on those charges.
I say this to my Republican colleagues who are defending the indefensible. There will come a day when Donald Trump is gone, but your dishonor will remain.
Liz Cheney dared to speak the truth about Donald Trump, and now Republicans are preparing a criminal investigation of her, which Trump seems to support as he begins his retribution tour.
It was cold-blooded, just a cold-blooded, horrible killing. And how people can like this guy is, that's a sickness, actually. It seems that there's a certain appetite for him. I don't get it.
Now, murder is always wrong, full stop, and never the answer. But the reality is, there are some people in Trump's own base who are hailing Mangione. And notably, Trump's admonitions come days after he hosted Daniel Penny in his private box at the Army-Navy game in Maryland and posed for smiley thumbs-up pictures with him. Let's bring you back to the U.S. and to our local gangster, Donald Trump. He's not even president yet, and he's already spending his time sitting in his golden palace, Mar-a-Lago, muscling other countries like he's Tony Soprano with a social media site. Doing things like, reportedly, debating whether or not to invade Mexico. Threatening BRICS countries, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, with 100% tariffs if they don't commit to trading in dollars and not their own currencies. Demanding Hamas release all hostages being held in Gaza before his inauguration, or there will be, quote, all hell to pay in the Middle East. Apparently, about 76 million Americans have forgotten that when Trump was president the first time, he made things cost more because he mishandled the COVID pandemic. And that his first and only legislative success was passing a tax cut in 2017 that ballooned the deficit and increased inflation, aka making things cost more. And that even without the pandemic, things would have wound up costing more because of the tax cut that overwhelmingly went to big businesses and the super rich. Not to mention the fact that the policies Trump voters heavily favor, mass deportation, tariffs, will also make everything cost more and likely create an economic disaster for the U.S. His Project 2025 plans would reduce freedom and increase government control over everything from education to women's bodies. And his plans to personalize the federal government by stacking it with ultra-loyalists would do literally nothing to make the economy better. But it would make a small group of his friends and himself a whole lot richer without helping anybody else. And perhaps most ironic is that what Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are proposing to do in cutting everything from veterans benefits to health care to Social Security and Medicare is how you run a country like a business. Because businesses, despite the Supreme Court saying they are people who only care about profits. And helping veterans and old people and kids and generally, helping regular people is generally not profitable. Businesses do not care if you are happy or healthy or free. What they care about is that their owners, namely their shareholders, their CEO and the bosses, make more and more profits. Businesses will raise prices or lay people off without mercy. If doing so will create more profit, it's not personal. Whereas government could not be more personal. So real talk, if you're mad at United Healthcare and you voted for Trump, you essentially voted for America to be run like United Healthcare.
Well, Trump team had some words for Senator Elizabeth Warren after she accused the president-elect and his closest ally, I should say, Elon Musk, of corruption. In a letter to Trump, Warren detailed concerns of Musk having a conflict of interest leading DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. She also questioned Elon Musk's motives during an interview just yesterday. Watch.
Here is this man, richest man in the world, who has multiple companies. So he's got Tesla, the electric car maker. He's got X. He's got Neuralink. He's got SpaceX and a handful of other companies. Those companies are directly involved with the United States government. And here he is whispering into the ear of Donald Trump. So what is he whispering? Is he whispering, here are ways to help the American people? Or is he thinking through ways to make those companies richer? The American public has a right to know who's giving this kind of advice to Donald Trump. Someone who's helping the American people or just helping himself.
Do you think she rehearsed that last part? I think she did. Trump's incoming press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, shot back a fiery response in a statement to...
So this is a big feud between Donald Trump's team and Senator Elizabeth Warren following her criticism of Elon Musk. So get this. Senator Elizabeth Warren accused Elon Musk of trying to, or essentially having a conflict of interest because of his advisory role with Donald Trump, who at this point is president-elect. Now, Elizabeth Warren is she's questioned whether Elon Musk was advising Trump in ways that would benefit the American people or simply his own businesses, such as Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink. So Elon Musk, the billionaire behind multiple companies, we're talking Tesla for the electric cars, EVs, SpaceX, space exploration, Neuralink, they do brain technology, X, formerly known as Twitter. He often collaborates with the United States government through these ventures. Now, because of these government ties, Elizabeth Warren is trying to create some concern. You know what I mean? Trying to manufacture concern over Elon Musk's influence of Trump. So I don't know what she's trying to stir up here, but basically in her letter, Elizabeth Warren, she said that Elon Musk, being the richest man in the world, might be giving Trump advice that basically serves Elon Musk's companies rather than the public. So what do you think? Is Elizabeth Warren bring up a valid concern, or is she just trying to stir up trouble and create something out of nothing? She basically demanded transparency about who advises Trump and questioned whether Elon Musk's intentions were for the good of the country or for his own self-interest.
Fox News Digital, here it is. President Trump has assembled the most impressive and qualified team of innovators, entrepreneurs, and geniuses to advise and staff our government. Pocahontas can play political games and send toothless letters, but the Trump-Vance transition will continue to be held to the highest ethical and legal standards possible, a standard unfamiliar to a career politician whose societal impact is 1/1024th of Elon Musk's. Okay, girl can write and she can do math. Emily.
That's what's called a mic drop. Yeah, look, Carolyn Levitt, she nailed it. And the reality is, I know that Elizabeth Warren means well, or at least I think she does, but this is so misplaced and so misguided, and it really falls flat. Because to this point, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy have just begun to take on a colossal and really crucial role with the federal government, which is absolutely trimming the fat. And most of the programs that Elizabeth Warren has advocated for, again, in a well-meaning fashion, but that are just absolutely ridiculous and bloated and of a complete overreach of government and our tax dollars, will be done away with. So I think this goes back to our earlier conversation where they are clinging tightly to the way things were. But the reality is, then put on your seatbelt because it's not going to be the way things were anymore, because finally we are going to have some transparency of a government that under people's watch, like Elizabeth Warren and like Bernie Sanders, who are multimillionaires and yet advocate for complete socialism and communism, we had no idea where our dollars were going. And now finally we do, and we want them back.
Well, millionaires know how to count other people's money.
Yes,
apparently.
totally.
Yeah, so Trump is back. So are the insults, the savage insults, which makes it all more entertaining. And I think it's actually a genuinely good thing because it gets people more engaged and paying attention when things are hilarious, like talking about Elizabeth Warren that way. She raises fair points. I don't disagree with her that we should be wary of anyone who has any interests who is advising the president, either party. The problem with her is that when it comes to government oversight of presidential administrations, she doesn't have a particularly good record. Congress doesn't have a particularly good record.
Say Congress.
They've completely surrendered, and both parties do it. I think Democrats do it worse than Republicans, generally speaking, where they just sort of hand over all their oversight responsibilities if their team is in the White House, which is a complete attack on the Constitution and a bad way to do government.
So just one example of what I think you're getting at is conflict of interest. Why in the world can't we ever get a bill passed that keeps people in those high positions from getting insider trading information and utilizing it? Like, I think Nancy Pelosi has made it her personal mission to make sure that doesn't happen. I mean, if I'm wrong about that, write me, tell me about it. Make sure you use some of Caroline's words.
You're going to suddenly get an email from Nancy Pelosi. Oh, no, you're wrong.
No.
Great.
No, you won't. You don't have to look for her missives. All you do is follow her stock trade. Right? I mean, you want to get rich in this country. Yeah, so there are plenty of Nancy Pelosi funds that follow her stock trades, trade for trade. And it is the only thing that it's in competition with is the anti-Kramer fund. So Jim Cramer, whatever he tells you to buy, you sell it. Or whatever he tells you to sell, you buy. And those funds are both making so much money. Elizabeth Warren is an anti-freedom hack. Don't listen to anything she has to say. Go cut the government, Elon and Vivek, do it.
I think we're all excited about a little trim here and there. And I hope that Elon Musk, after he finishes in D.C., he comes to New York City and helps the MTA cut the fat there, because we're about to go into congestion pricing. And
you think it's going to happen?
And New Yorkers are furious about it, but there's still a few lawsuits that have to be settled.
That's what I questioned. And we know Trump's not in favor of it.
Yeah, so Elon, come to New York City after you're finished in D.C.
Now, Carolyn Levitt, Trump's incoming press secretary, fired back with a sharp and mocking statement directed at Elizabeth Warren. She called Warren Pocahontas, referencing a controversy over Elizabeth Warren's claims of Native American ancestry. By the way, guys, if you just now joining live, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate you guys. And I have more clips that I got to share with you guys that I do not want you to miss. So stick around for that. But Carolyn Levitt said Elizabeth Warren's impact on society was 1,024th of Elon Musk's, which is basically a jab tied to Elizabeth Warren's disputed ancestry claim. So Carolyn Levitt, her statement basically implied that Donald Trump's team had assembled a group of highly qualified individuals, unlike Senator Elizabeth Warren, who they accused of playing political games and having little meaningful impact. Now, basically, Elizabeth Warren, she probably rehearsed that, right? But this was definitely one of those mic drop moments that it pretty much just like decisively ends the argument, right? So Warren is getting basically destroyed for supporting big government programs and question her credibility due to what they call government overreach and wasteful spending. Now, the argument here is that figures like Elon Musk and Donald Trump were bringing much needed reforms to cut down unnecessary government spending. I mean, heck, all Americans would benefit if they can do this. It would cut down our taxes because they won't have to cover, if they lower the government expenses, we won't have to pay as much taxes, and we can keep more of our paychecks, more of our retirement money, lower people who are on Social Security, they would get more of their Social Security checks because their Social Security checks are getting taxed. Anyway, so one person actually suggested that politicians like Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, who are wealthy, but advocate for socialism, have contributed to a lack of transparency in government spending. In fact, the discussion also goes so far as to touch on the broader issues of government ethics, some of which is why there's no effective laws preventing politicians from profiting off of insider trading. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say insider trading. Let's just say insider knowledge, right? Now, the first person that comes to mind is Nancy Pelosi. She's someone who could theoretically benefit from maybe knowledge about stock trading, for example, with an implication that her financial success might possibly theoretically be tied to her political position. I mean, how many of you guys think that Nancy Pelosi does so well in the stock market because of maybe insider intel she may have access to from her current position? Do you think that politicians should be able to trade and make money off the stock market while being a politician? Like, is that even fair? So anyway, basically the sentiment highlights the return of Trump's characteristic savage insults and the entertainment value that they bring to political discourse. I love it, guys. I absolutely love it. But drop me your thoughts, guys. Hit me up in the comments down below. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, check out my previous videos, and I'll catch y'all on the next one.